Bonjour, nous sommes Madina Lake. Matthew and I, Matthew's not here right now, but Matthew and I live in Chicago. We're playing in a band in Chicago, and these guys were playing in a band in New Jersey, and our manager at the time picked them up and suggested they move to Chicago. So they moved to Chicago, and we were kind of competing bands in Chicago, and started hanging out and realized that we had everything in common, and they had what we needed and we had what they needed, and we should just break up both the bands, fire the manager because he was kind of a douche, and start a brand new band, and that's what we did. It's called Addicts to Eden. It comes out, I think, May 5th. We're super excited about it. Making it was kind of a grueling process. We had a really hardcore producer, which his name is David Bendith. He ended up being one of the best things I think that ever happened to us, even though going through it was kind of a nightmare. We had a couple months before we went into the studio to work out the songs that we had started writing on the road, but relatively we had to write it quickly, which I feel like worked out best for us because we didn't have time to second guess or overthink things. Like, they just kind of came out, and we didn't care if it was metal or industrial or pop or whatever. We just didn't care. We just kept moving forward with what we wanted to do. And at the end of the day, I think our second record is a much more dynamic and interesting record, and we're 10 times happier with it. So.
Sometimes I feel like I'm from another world.
First record was pretty typical, I think. Mateo, a guitar player, would come in with guitar riffs and things that he would usually write at home or stay up all night and write shit and bring it in the next day, or loops that he would make on the computer, like a program called Reason. And we would kind of take the songs from there, start playing along to them and expand on them, and then he would write lyrics and add melodies and things like that. On the second record, some of the songs were created that way, but we also had a much shorter amount of time, so we experimented with a lot of different things, like just hanging microphones up in our rehearsal studio and just kind of playing drums or playing bass, or him writing melody lines and lyrics which inspire music, and we kind of drew from a bunch of different angles. So it allowed us, I think, to be more creative in a shorter amount of time, and it also gave all the songs, I think, a more different sound within the record versus having every song come about the same way like the first one did.
It was a tour that Linkin Park puts together, and it was Linkin Park, My Chemical Romance, Taking Back Sunday, all kinds of cool bands. Yeah, and Linkin Park asked us to open, which blew our minds. Like, we didn't know they'd ever even heard of us, much less, liked it enough to invite us on tour. So we were doing that tour. It was huge. It was like a massive opportunity for us. And so while we're having the time of our lives, like right in the middle of summer in the States on that tour, we found out that in the UK we had won Kerrang's Best International Newcomer, which was like, we've never won anything in our lives, and so that was like a very exciting moment, I felt like.
Yeah. I don't know, I think we probably have a couple different ones. Mine personally is about 3 weeks of the last tour that we did in Canada in January in 2009. The shows are great, the tour was great. It was with a band called Amberlin, which we really, really became friends with, and they're a wonderful band, but the logistics of the tour was just nightmarish. A lot of times when they book tours for bands in buses, they don't mind really long drives because the bus drivers drive overnight and things, but we were the only band, again, in a van, which happens all the time, because we don't have any money. So we had to make these horrendous drives, and it was like negative 25, 30 degrees below Fahrenheit, and
the van kept breaking down.
It broke, probably like 10 times.
We popped like 4 tires. And
blew 4 tires. We got this machine that you would charge in the venue or the hotel room, and then bring it outside and clip to your battery to like jump start your car if there's not another car. and we had to use it every time we turned our van on. So we'd turn the van on, get to the place, bring it inside, charge it, come back out so we could use it again. And we got stuck for a few hours in the middle of nowhere and had to call tow trucks. And Matthew got deathly ill, and we had to cancel shows, which we hate doing because we had van problems. So it was like every day was like...
It was terrible now that I think of it.
It was crazy.
Awful.
I mean, the rare 30 minutes that we actually made it to a gig and played it, it was really fun.
That was
but
great.
Everything else about that month was really difficult.